Welcome back to Dualsighted. We're back, another, interview with someone who's experienced 9/11, and today we're joined by Jerry Sanford, who, who's going to share his story today. How are you, Mr. Sanford?
I'm good. Please call me Jerry.
Jerry? Okay. So, before we get to your story, for those who are confused or those who, don't understand the gravity of September 11, 2001, which is 20 years since that tragic day. To ask you, has 20 years gone by fast in your opinion, or has it gone slow?
Oh, wow. At times it seems like it's just flew by, but I guess it's taken a while to get here. Not a day goes by that I don't think of something about what happened back then.
I read somewhere that you spent 30 years in as a police officer and a firefighter. Which one is that true?
Yes, I was 3 years a police officer from 1965 to 1968. And then I switched over in 1968 and I retired in 1997 from the fire department. So almost another 30 years with the fire department and then 3 years with the police department.
What made you change lanes from being a police officer to a firefighter?
Well, I don't think I was meant to be a police officer. I took it because I knew the time spent on the police department would be counted towards my pension when years later I would retire. So I took that and I took it just to, I was working on Wall Street at the time in the 60s, and the small brokerage firm I was working for was kind of in trouble. So I started looking for other avenues, and I happened to run into a firefighter. And I went and rode one night with him, and I flying through the streets of Manhattan, lights and sirens. I'm thinking, boy, I can't get any better than this. Going from white collar on Wall Street, where the same old, same old.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I've never looked back. I was when the fire department called me, I was only too. I was really ready to leave the police department. It just wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah. And I think we both experienced, like, we at one point we both wanted to, like, be, join the police force.
It was both. Like every Sunday, like after church, we would have there would always be like police officers, like
That they would wave at us, so we would wave back. So we always thought that would be cool to be a police officer.
Sure,
But
sure.
as we got older, we just, I don't know.
yeah, obviously as times change, it's definitely
Yes.
more dangerous becoming a police officer
Oh,
nowadays than
it's such a. It's. I don't mean this direct. It's a down job. Who likes to get locked up? If you go to a family dispute, the husband's going to love you, or the wife's going to hate you, or the reverse. And who wants to get a ticket? So it was not too many happy days or good days. They do a remarkable job, our guys in blue, and I don't. It taught me a lot about life, how people treat people back in the 60s, and it was things that I saw that did not, that wasn't me. I wasn't meant to be like that.
Hmm.
But there are people that, just do it. So I completely switched departments, and it was the best thing that I ever did was spending all those years with the fire department.
yeah, like he said, some people are made to be cops and some people aren't, and there's nothing wrong with that. But
No, not at all.
yeah, so
Not at all.
So you mentioned that after you retired, it was 97. You said
Yes.
after you retired, you came back only a week before 9/11 occurred.
Well, as a little, I stayed in New York for those other 3 years, and I retired down here in 2000. And that by May of 2000, I had been driving my wife crazy. I said I have to get a job, and I happened to see in the newspaper there was going to be a refresher CPR course at the local high school. So I went down and I took the course, and then at the end there was a woman standing on the stage, and she said she was the chief in charge of emergency medical services, EMS. So being from New York, I had a lot of nerve, and I went up and I asked her for a job. And I said, I just retired. I retired 3 years ago, and I want a job. I said I was the press secretary to the fire commissioner when I retired. It was a pretty big job. Now I don't mean it in any other way. Only I was very lucky that I wound up where I did.
Mhm.
Anyway, she called over her press guy, and he told me that there was a fire district down here looking for a press guy. And I went when I got on the following Monday, I went out to play golf, and I came home, and my wife said to me, "Well, Grandpa, I think you got a job. Some fire chief called here, and please give him a call." So I called him. That was and he said, "Come in and see me." That was Tuesday. So I went over and I met Chief Jim Tobin on a Tuesday, and he didn't even look at my resume. We started talking about New York, et cetera, et cetera. And about a half hour into our talk, he said to me, "There's a Crown Victoria out in the parking lot. See that car?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "That's your car." So I got hired at about 35 minutes after an interview because of where I came from. And if you can handle the New York City media, you can certainly handle the media in Naples, Florida.
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah, that's easy.
so that's kind of what happened. And I started working for the North Naples Fire Department in May 15th of 2000.
Mhm. Between that 2000 to that 2001 of September, what you were still at Naples? What
Yes,
brought
I
you
was in
back?
Naples, and the chiefs told me about a month after I was hired. He says, in one of our fire stations, we have a helmet from New York City. I said, "How can that be? I'm in Naples, Florida. What are you doing with a helmet?" He said, "A man came into the firehouse one day, and it was his father's helmet, and he donated it to us." So we get in the car, we ride over, and sure enough, up on the wall of Station 44 is this old black leather helmet, and it has a red front piece with 42, the number 42. So I knew immediately that he came from the South Bronx because that was where the fire commissioner was a firefighter. So that kind of astonished me, the fact that here I am in Naples, Florida, and I'm looking at a fire helmet that came from the Bronx. So we drive back to headquarters here, and I call the fire commissioner in New York, tell him what I found. They said, "Tommy, I have a helmet down here from your old house." So I explained the story to him, and he said, "Wow, that'd be great if you could bring it back to us, but the firehouse is being renovated now." This is like June of 2000. And he said, "It won't be completed until next year." So the year goes by. I had kept in touch with the press office, and I think it was August. August. They called me and said, "You better make your travel plans. The firehouse is ready to be the ribbon cutting and the ceremony on September 10th, 2001." Now, to us, to anybody, what is September 10th? Didn't mean anything. So we flew to New York on September 8th. I found the man that it was his father's helmet, and two chiefs and myself, and we flew to New York City on September 8th. I took him to Harlem. I took him to Brooklyn, all the firehouses that I had worked in. And then the morning of September 10th, we went to Ladder 42, Engine 73, in the South Bronx with the old helmet. And there were hundreds of firefighters retired that had come back to see what the new reconditioned firehouse. And on the apparatus floor, they had built an altar for one of our chaplains, one of our Catholic chaplains, Father Michael Judge, to say Mass. But how ironically, this was the last Mass that Father Judge ever said, because he was killed the next day, along with about 7 or 8 of my other friends that were at the ceremony on the 10th.
Mhm.
So they cut Mayor Giuliani was there. They cut the ribbon. We gave the helmet back to the captain, and we went next door to a Dominican Republic social club where we had the usual cold cuts and beer and camaraderie. And we then said goodbye to everybody, and we went to LaGuardia Airport on the evening of September 10th, expecting to fly back to Naples. But that didn't happen because a tremendous storm hit New York City that nobody remembers, and it closed all 3 New York airports: LaGuardia, Kennedy, and Newark. So before we could go, we're still stuck at LaGuardia Airport, so we were able to confirm flight out the next morning, which was September 11th. I called my daughter. She came down, picked us up. We stayed overnight briefly at her house, and I flew out of LaGuardia about 6 o'clock on the morning of September 11th, about a little more than 2 hours before the attacks on the trade tower, on the trade center. We were changing planes in Pittsburgh, and this was about 8:45 in the morning. And one of the chiefs, Wayne Jones, went down to the restroom, and I'm standing outside the gate, and the pilot is there, and the attendants are there, like we all used to see. Everybody was relaxed mood, and Wayne started screaming at me, Jerry, come down here. So I walked down to a restaurant, and I looked up on the screen of the television, and that's when I had seen that one of the towers was on fire, all the way up at the top. I think a plane, or the reporting that a plane had flown into it. Well, I'm thinking it's a sightseeing plane. How can a sightseeing plane fly into the top of one of the towers? So I walk back, and I get on. The pilot said to me, "You all right?" I said, "No, something just happened in New York." And we sat down. Next thing you know, he closes up the doors and everything, and we back out about, I don't know, quarter of a mile, stop. He comes on the intercom and says, "The FAA has now grounded all flights. You're going back to the gate." So we go back to the gate, we get off the plane, and we enter the terminal in Pittsburgh, which was totally chaotic. People running, screaming, thinking, what the heck is going on here? So I said, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not staying in Pittsburgh. I want to get out of here. I got to go back to New York. So we all got online to a different rental car company, and finally, quite a long time had passed before we finally got a car. So now we get in the car and we leave the airport, and I was the only one with a phone. So I said, so we stopped at a mall or some type of thing. I was kind of really all in a state of shock, to be honest with you guys. And we got an extension cord, and we made one phone call down here to Naples. I forget whose wife we called and said we're okay. We're outside of Pittsburgh. And we turned the radio on in the car. And it was only then that we heard that a second plane had hit the second tower, that a plane had crashed into the Pentagon, and that another plane had crashed in Shanksville, which we found out, which we realized was right near Pittsburgh. So the next thing we hear is the tower has collapsed. Now, I saw those towers being built back in the 60s when I was a firefighter going to Harlem every day from Staten Island. And I just couldn't comprehend. I remember screaming at the radio, the guy, this couldn't happen. Mm. So we finally, and now another tower comes down. So this is really puts me into a state. So we're riding, I don't know where we were, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. We finally, excuse me, stopped at a rest area. And we raced in, and on the television was that big mushroom cloud that the whole world saw, that the two towers when they collapsed. So we drove back all night, and we got back here on Wednesday, back to Naples. And on Thursday, I went back into work. The chief, my boy, he had been with me. He went to New York with me, and I said to him, look, I'm going back to New York. I don't care if I lose my job. I got to go back and help. So fortunately, my wife and I had already had tickets to fly to Philadelphia to attend our grandson's christening on that Sunday. So I believe it was Friday or Saturday, the FAA allowed airlines to fly again. So we get on the plane, and I remember there was 8 or 10 people on the plane, and everybody was looking at each other with very, very suspecting eyes, like, who are you, you know? And anyway, we get to Philly on Sunday. My grandson was christened, and that afternoon I was able to reach the fire commissioner in Brooklyn. And I told him, Tommy, I'm in Philadelphia. I want to come back to help. And he said, please, whatever you can do, get back here as soon as you can. So the following day, that was Monday, I borrowed a car from a relative and I drove back up to New York. And I remember going over the Verrazano Bridge into Brooklyn and just looking across New York Harbor at that sight of the smoke and that cloud. Anyway, I went to fire headquarters, and one of the firemen that used to work for me in the press office drove me to the site. And so that Monday night, I was standing about 40 feet in the air on West Street, looking down at firemen that looked like the size of ants, looking with buckets. And that was 6 days after the attacks, and they were still in the recovery stage, if you would. We just thought we thought we could still find survivors, but as we all know, that didn't turn out to be. That wasn't true. So I stayed up there. I went back to work at the job I knew best, and that was dealing with the media. And I worked with Mayor Giuliani's press kids. They were kids compared to me, the old guy. And I did that for about less than a week. And then the commissioner said to me, look, we're starting to find our firefighters. Of the 343 that were killed, I worked with them and knew about half of them. So he said, we got some tough days ahead of us. We're going to have to set up funerals and wakes and all this. So I then resumed the role of going to, I was reunited with the widows and the children, because I knew a lot of them from picnics and Christmas parties, and I worked with these guys. So it was a very difficult thing to do. And a lot of the main stories, the major stories everybody saw, I was behind the scenes, taking the news crew down to the site, taking them out to Staten Island where they were dumping all the debris out at the I can't think of out at the dump. Excuse me, that's a terrible word, but that's exactly what they just truckload and truckload and truckload of debris from the site was taken out there and put on conveyor belts. And there were members of the police department that were sifting through the debris, looking for identification and body parts. And that was ugly. That was really, but anyway, I did that until about the third week in October. And by that time I was pretty well burnt out. I had, I couldn't go to any more funerals or go to any more wakes. So I came back to Naples, and that's kind of my 9/11 story. How it all started with a helmet, and I just my lady and I, we just finished writing a book, and it's called "It Started with a Helmet," and that's my story. It started from this helmet that I found in June of 2000 and returned it to the Bronx on September 10th, 2001. So it's really an incredible story of how did I get to where, and how did the helmet get there. So that's kind of my whole story, guys.
And this book is on Amazon, or where can you find it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it's on Amazon. Yeah, I don't know if you there it is. It started with a helmet. You can get it on Amazon. It's a slim novel, all about what I just said. How did the helmet get to Naples? I brought it back to the South Bronx the day before 9/11.
And you mentioned, before we let you go, you mentioned that you reunited with a lot of, the families of the people you worked alongside, and alongside with in New York. Tilly, Tilly Guidel.
Oh yes. I actually knew her dad. He was. I did a lot of filming with documentaries and all the different rescue companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, and he was a Staten Islander like I was.
Mm-hmm.
I lived on Staten Island, so I knew Gary very well. And he was very close to retiring when 9/11 hit. And I got to meet Tilly through TikTok, and we've formed this beautiful relationship. I think she was 6 years old, 6 or 7 years old when 9/11 happened, and now she's married. I think she's 27 or 28. But yes, it's a great together coming
Yeah.
with what we have between the two of us.
So you guys instantly just connected after you obviously knew who he was before?
Well, without question.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the fire family.
Yep.
We're all family. It doesn't matter where you are. You say the magic words, you're on the job, or your father, or your uncle, or your grandfather. We're one family. Always will be.
Yeah, and to add on that, he knows we had her.
Yeah, we interviewed her about a week ago almost.
Yeah, almost a week ago.
Nice.
Yeah, and she stated the same thing, that after her father passed away that day, the whole the firefighting crew, they treated her like family. They took care of her, and that just echoes what you said, that it's a family.
That's what we do. Yep.
As the towers, you've seen the towers on the TV. When did you realize it wasn't an accident, or did you feel like it was something more?
I didn't realize it until I saw. Don't forget, we only heard. I saw the first plane, and then we were thrown off the plane, and we were trying to get a car. So all during that time is when the second plane hit, when Shanksville occurred, and the Pentagon. So I didn't see until we stopped at that rest area, and by that time the towers had collapsed. And that was just very hard to believe. That how could this happen in my city? How could this happen in America? How did terrorists? I kind of thought it was, but and everybody was just so jumpy. Everybody is so scared. It was like, what is happening? Are we being invaded?
Even even we're in Texas. Our family mentioned, we were too young to remember, but our family mentioned that they thought they were coming after them next, even though they were like in Texas. So I mean,
yeah,
it just shows
Yeah, put everyone on edge.
Without question. Everybody was. When I got on that plane and I was flying from Naples to Philadelphia, I mean, we were looking at these other 7-8 people like, who the, and they're looking at us too.
Yeah.
Because everybody was on edge. You didn't. I had never experienced that feeling in my life back then, and I hope that our nation, never goes through anything like that again. It was horrible, and I hope we learned. I don't know if we have. Right now, the country seems so divided now. I just wish. Back in the day, we were all one neighborhood. Everybody was the whole United States was a New Yorker. Everybody. You couldn't find a flag to buy. There was everybody had flags. They hung them from trucks, from cars, from windows, from houses. We were all one people, and 20 years have passed. What's happened?
Yeah,
and they forgot about 9/11.
Yeah.
That's why Chris and I are so happy about this little book of ours, because we've got some donations, and educators and teachers have reached out to us asking us for books, which we've mailed to them, and so they can talk to their students about 9/11, because our educational system all these years
leaves a lot of stuff out.
Yeah, so we're very happy about that. We send out about 4 or 5 books a day to schools and to teachers throughout the country, and that's a wonderful thing.
So, like you stated earlier, like you think we were more united in 2001 than we are now, right? You think we're more divided now?
Absolutely, yes.
And you think after a tragedy like that, you think that reunited people together?
Sure.
It did back then, but I don't know what's happened since then. We just seem to be, we have to be nice to each other again. I mean, gee, it just seems that everybody is mad at each other, and I can't. That's why Chris and we do this TikTok at night, and it's wonderful. I get to communicate with young people all over the world, and my message is always the same. Be nice to each other. My mother, God rest her soul, she used to say to me, Gerald, it doesn't cost anything to be nice to people. And I kind of passed that message on, be nice to each other, help each other out, volunteer, especially the firefighters I talked to. I said, when you leave the firehouse, there's more out there than just helping people when you're in the firehouse. This morning I just came, I have an organization down here that I helped start. It's called Homa Health is Annex. And we have coffee and donuts and bagels and a hot breakfast for World War II, Korean, and Vietnam veterans. And this morning we had over 30. And they come every Saturday from 9 to 11:30. And you should see them. They're like little kids talking about where did you serve and all. So my point of saying this is keep trying to help people. That's I think what'll bring us back together again. I'm 83 years old, and I never thought I'd see the country as divided as it is now. We were all one 20 years ago. What happened in 20 years?
Yeah, to add on that, like, just imagine, God forbid this happens again. You think I really don't think that we would unite. I think it would cause more division, if anything.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. I remember this. This was a wonderful memory. Every day I would go to the site and I'd bring news crew down West Street. And no matter what time I traveled, 2 a.m, 5 a.m, didn't matter. There were hundreds of strangers, people standing along the roadway with signs saying USA, chanting USA, USA, and thank you. And I would tear up every day. I would ride in. They allowed you only one way in, one way out. So I was on West Street a lot. And I'll never forget that these people, I can't even think of how many they were, but cheering us on, us first responders, and the people going in there to try to help. I don't know. I'm sure it's going to get better. I pray that it's going to get better. And we just all have to do our part to make that happen.
And to get into that a little, what do you think that is? I'm curious too. Do you think it's like the social media age or like the new internet? Like what exactly causes this, division in today's America?
I wish I knew. I don't know. I don't know. And I don't want to get political, so I'm not going to get political. Yeah. But political circles have changed. What party's in, what party's out, that kind of thing. I just don't know what has happened.
Yeah.
It seems that more people now don't want to go to work. They'd rather stay home, which I won't even go any further than.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to touch that
because
that's like lighting a flame under my rear end. It's just I'm grandpa. I'm from the old school. And it's just I just hope. I'm really an optimist. I know it's going to get better. I don't know what it's going to take, but and it's going to help. A lot of us out there have to change the way we're thinking and change what we do. And we were a great society. We're still a great society. There's nothing like the United States of America. Come on, people keep wanting to get in here. If we were that bad, why would they want to come here?
Yeah.
And to add to that, you said not to get political. I don't mean to get political, but a lot of people, they seem to take for granted how easy and how great it is to live in this country, and comparing it to other nations that where you're not even, if you say something that someone doesn't agree with, you're
executed on spot. Like you got to realize where you are now.
Obviously we're not perfect as a nation, but
no,
it's just it's insane. I don't understand it. We're 20, we're in our 20s, and most people our age, they seem to feel that, oh, this country is the worst country or whatever. Yeah. Let's send them to North Korea or China or something.
Yeah, please. Yeah. I mean, what would you face over there? I mean, they wouldn't even allow what we're doing now. Us talking to each other. That wouldn't even happen.
Yeah, there would be people knocking on the door right now. We would have to go hide.
Yeah, exactly. Locking you up, and we'd all go to jail.
Yeah.
Or somewhere. or get executed. I mean, it's we take things for granted too much here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Get off your rear end and get out there and work.
Mm-hmm.
And help
Mm-hmm.
somebody. And that's, I think, the only thing that's part of the getting us back on the right track. You know, and then remembering what happened 20 years ago. It's um, I don't know. In fact, I just got a telephone call just before we came on with you, inviting me to a breakfast on Friday,
Mm-hmm.
September 10th, at a school, and I was thrilled. I said, absolutely. So when I speak, I don't get political. I don't get as long as my story as I just told you guys.
No, it's not.
But
It's good.
I'm happy that the school called me. In fact, yesterday I went and I spoke, and I spoke to a little young lady uh, who a couple of years ago she painted my picture, and I went back to her school and she interviewed me, which I thought was a great thing. So the word is slowly getting out there, and I'm very happy that I'm going to go talk to these children on the day before September 11th.
You mentioned that after the first tower was hit, you thought it was a terrorist attack from that moment, right?
Not really,
Right.
no. I was maybe naive, if you want to call it. I kept thinking it was a sightseeing plane. I don't know. I just couldn't. I was more shocked at what had happened. How could a plane fly in to the trade center? Terrorism. I have to admit, a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, I knew it was right away." Well, I'm sorry, I didn't think that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was, with all the sightseeing planes flying around New York City. I mean, helicopters, this and that. Uh, I just thought it was a mishap. I thought that there was a pilot somehow. But then now when we hear, not see, we hadn't seen it. When we heard that the other three things, the other events had happened,
You knew.
and then the two towers come down. Oh, by that time, I mean, like, what is going on? Now forget about sightseeing plane. Now there is somebody's attacking us.
Do they allow that still in sightseeing planes? I'm curious. Do they still allow that?
Back then they did. I don't know.
It's probably
I know you have
helicopters.
seaplanes going all, that fly in. There's the Wall Street heliport. There's helicopters flying all over. There's the West Side heliport. So you go to New York, you look up in the air, you're always seeing something flying around. I mean, not an airliner. They're kind of restricted from that area. But you see small planes, and that's immediately what I thought of. Now, let's go back 20 years. I don't know if that's done now. I
Mm-hmm.
can't say that's still doing.
What do you think about, there's a bunch of conspiracies out there. What do you think of the ones that say, oh, this was a planned a planned explosion where they state that
Or just an inside job in general.
an inside job where they state, oh, a plane couldn't have knocked the towers down. What do you say about
Do you
that?
think that's just disrespectful to the people who perished?
I can't believe that. I can't believe that. Uh, 3,000, almost 3,000 people were killed that day. Some people, including some of my brother firefighters, their bodies or parts still have not been recovered. I'm sorry. I can't go along with that theory at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
They also, jet fuel. Jet fuel, it came down in the elevator shafts, and it all contributed to the pancake effect, but one floor on top of the other, all the way down. Seven World Trade Center, that was on fire for hours and hours, and then that came. So I don't believe that our government or there was any faction in there
Mm-hmm.
that deliberately caused this tragedy to happen. I can't believe that. Not
Yeah.
at all.
So 10 years later, the man who was behind it, Osama bin Laden, is killed. Do you remember where you were at that day? Or-
Yeah, I was at my daughter's in Texas. I went there. I forget for something, some kind of graduate. I don't recall what I was there for. But when I came down in the morning, my daughter and son-in-law told me, "Grandpa, we got great news. Osama bin Laden was located and when he was killed." And I was like, "Oh my God!" Wow! A feeling came over me and thousands of other people. that they got him, and in fact, the masterminds are still, that brings up another whole thing. They're all still down in Guantanamo Bay.
Mhm.
And they're going through different, I don't know, it's all these years later, and they're still down there, and our government, I'll just broach this subject, our government, uh, let me back up. All these administrations since then have been hiding or protecting the records that implicated Saudi Arabia, that there was a lot of help. And I'm part of one of the many people that are part of a lawsuit against Saudi Arabia. And I just saw, I think 2 days ago, President Biden is going to look into possibly releasing some of the transcripts of some of the records. But I heard that from Bush. I heard that from Obama. I heard that from Trump. And now for Biden to say it, I don't think I'll ever see it in my lifetime. And I'm 83 years old.
Yeah.
So I think they know stuff, and I don't think they're going to divulge it to the public. It's a crime. It really is.
Yeah, I wouldn't count on Biden to do anything.
No. And believe me, don't get me wrong. I don't want their money. I don't need their money. I don't want their money. I just want the truth. I think the American public and the families deserve the truth. What happened. And I got lung cancer. I'm a 2-time lung cancer survivor from 9/11.
Oh, really?
That kind of ripped my family up. Especially my wife had cancer and I had cancer at the same time. How do you go home and tell your wife you have cancer when she's battling it for a number of years? That takes its toll. You know what I mean? I lost her in 2009, but and then it came back again. I got it back again in 2012. So I'm cancer free for 9 years now. But who knows? It's always in the back of my head. And there's still firemen, police officers, many people that ingested all of that cloud, if you would, all those years. They're still dying, and this is 2021.
And the number stands at 3,000, huh? They don't bump it up with all those people dying from the.
Oh yes, I'm sure it's well. In fact, I know that more police officers have died since 9/11 than were killed that day. They lost 32 men that day. Since then, they've lost about 270 for cancer-related illnesses. And the fire department, we lost 343. And I think we have over 250 have passed away. And the count is still going up. And there are people out there that are walking around with cancer and they still haven't been diagnosed. I know it sounds crazy, but it was 6 years before I was picked up. I wasn't diagnosed until 2007 when I went for my fire department medical down here in Naples. And I went, I had the usual test, the blood, and I had a chest x-ray. And that afternoon, the nurse called me and said, you better go down to NCH. The doctor wants to see you. So I go down to NCH and he said to me, I want to show you your x-ray. And this is all red and this is all red. Well, it turns out I have cancer in both my lungs. So now, just getting back to that whole, intentional. And now I have, I don't even, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I just wish the government would be honest with us, with all the families that were affected by 9/11. But I don't think they'll ever release it. That's just my take.
Heck, you just if you got to be honest to a group of people, be at least honest to the people who went through it firsthand. Yeah. If you're not gonna tell the whole, the rest of Americans, at least tell the people who went through it, huh?
Correct. Yes, I agree completely. Yeah. So, yeah, there were some trying times, and we're still, and the masterminds, from what I'm told, they're still alive. They're still in Guantanamo.
From 9/11, the masterminds?
9/11, yeah. I don't know their names. They have those big long names. I don't know, but I know that they are in jail in Guantanamo Bay, and they're going to be tried one of these days by a military judge or a military tribunal, whatever you want to call it. So, in fact, Obama tried to bring them back to New York, a number of years ago. he wanted to take him and bring him back to New York, but everybody went crazy over that. So they're still in Guantanamo. So I didn't mean to get off on a tangent, guys, with that, but you know, it's all part of 9/11.
20 years had passed. Who would you credit, you know, the most with helping you get through, you know, those 20 years emotionally, mentally? You know, who would you credit most?
I think the good Lord. You know, I'm not an over the top religious man, but I truly believe in God. He has pulled me through. I've seen a lot. I went through a lot with my wife's illness and with my cancers and all. And I pray every day. And he's a good God. He's looked over Jerry. You know, I have no idea. You know, in fact, this Labor Day, what are we, Friday? Well, Monday, I'll be sober 38 years.
Congratulations.
With all what I've seen, what I do and all, but a day at a time. And the fire department saved my life. I went to them and said, hey, I got a drinking problem. Can you help me? That was 38 years. This Monday, 38 years, I'll be sober. So there is a God, let me tell you, that helped me every day. So I guess that's to answer your question, if anything was looking up to him.
So we see those patches behind you. We see that on TikTok. Tell us about that.
Okay, well, I had a big patch. The patches that you see behind me, like I'll hold one up. In fact, this is Tilly's father's patch from Rescue One. Wow. And a lot of fun. We have patches from where you worked, whatever company you worked in, and you proudly display it on your uniform. So when I retired, I had a big patch collection, but I couldn't bring any more stuff home. I had like a museum in my office. I'm not bragging. It was just I had everything from, you name it, from New York. So I gave my patch collection away. So Chris and I started doing TikTok, and they asked me, hey, Jerry, you want to switch patches? And I explained to them just what I told you guys. So we decided to have we call it a patch jackpot. If you send us a patch on September 11th, we're going to pull a card out of a hat. We have the cards all here. We write them down when they come in. We go to the post office every day, and we ask the firefighters and first responders to send us a patch. So on the evening of September 11th, a week from today, we're going to pull a card out, and they're going to win. They're going to win all these patches behind us here. We're just holding them for somebody. We've gotten a few of them from Europe and all over the United States. So some firefighter or first responder is going to get all these patches, including Tilly's father's patch from Rescue One. Awesome. And I have a patch that I put in from the New York City Fire Department. I'm proud to present my patch to the winner. And that's what all these patches are behind me.
That's cool, isn't it? Yes, sir. I wish we were eligible to win that, but I mean, we're not first responders.
Yeah, it's a great. There's a lot of firefighters have patch collections, and they trade, you know, all over the country.
So, you know, before we let you go, you mentioned, you know, you have a book, and that's titled "It Started with the Helmets," you know, which tells your story. It goes into detail, like you just went into detail today. You know, you mentioned it's on Amazon exclusively, or where else can they find it?
Yeah, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and you can get it from our publisher, which is iuniverse.com. So you can get it on those three outlets. Yes.
Okay, and then we'll put down the, you know, your social media, your TikTok, your, you know, Instagram, so people could find you if they want to contact you.
Great, that'd be great, guys.
So, you know, once again, Mr. Sanford, or Jerry, you know, thank you for,
Jerry, please,
you know, sharing your story, you know, with us. We know it's been 20 years, but I mean, we also know it's not, you know, it still can't be easy 20 years later, you know, but we think you're a hero, and, you know, thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you for your service. We wish you, you know, you and your health, your family, we wish you nothing but the best. And
thank you guys. It was an honor to meet you and to speak to you today.
Yes, sir.
You take care.
You too. Take care. God bless.
Thank you.
So that was Jerry Sanford. You know, go check out his book. You know, he mentioned it right there. You know, it's called, you know, It Started with the Helmet, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You know, we'll link everything down below, social media down below. But what are your thoughts before we let you guys go?
Yeah, just like our last, interview with Tilly, it's obviously powerful, to hear them talk, and obviously enjoyed hearing, what he had to say. Obviously not enjoy, but it was good having him on. Giving us his perspective on just a tragic day, 20 years later, and yeah.
So, once again, you guys are watching Dualsighted. Follow us on Dualsighted down below. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And go check out Mr. Sanford's book and social media link down below. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.